Welcome to Spk Our Minds community podcast, sharing the views and opinions of local residents in Camden.
Good evening. Thank you for joining the podcast. Can you please introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is Martin. I've lived in Camden for the last 20 years. I now work for Mind in Camden.
That's wonderful. How did you come to work for Mind in Camden?
Well, I've been a member. I was a member of Mind in Camden 15 years ago when you could literally just refer yourself. It was a drop-in centre. Now things have changed a little bit. And when I first went there, I was a service user. User, the word's not really the word I like, a member.
Member.
And I volunteered, started off as a volunteer about 12 years ago and started to work for them around 6 years ago as a support leader, 2 or 3 days a week.
Wow, that sounds good. What is your experience of mental health support in Camden or in your community? Do you find there's enough mental health support?
I've found enough mental health support originally. As for these days, I think there's so many services being closed down. There's just not enough. That's why we're at Mind are now being overwhelmed by people. Too many people to deal with, really. There needs to be more support centres around. We've been there for a good number of years, but we do need at least one more in our area.
What is a positive experience did you find? Or did you find it helpful? So do you have any positive experience with when you were a service user or as a...
The positive experiences I got was I was as a volunteer. It was actually encouraging. That's what I wanted to be. I always wanted to do something like this, and I didn't think I'd ever get a chance of doing it. Not at my age. I was in my early 50s by that time. And but being offered a job after I'd volunteered there for about 4 or 5 years was actually made me feel so much better inside. I was diagnosed as a child. Well, later years, I was with autism, echolalia, and things like this. And there was not really any outlet I knew of in London that could help me, except for the minute I stepped into Mind, I realised I was in the right place. I realised they were the ones that could help me. The support they've given me is absolutely wonderful. I'd never been able to have had a job there or anywhere else, I don't think, if they hadn't have given me the support I needed at that time.
How accessible was the support? Was it easier before, or is it easier now to access services?
No, it's fairly hard, from what I've been told by the members that are currently there, to actually get into the place, to be a member. Like I say, years ago, you could just literally walk in off the street every day, and you could have tea, coffee, have something to eat, have a good old chat with somebody, speak to a counsellor or whatever. These days, that's not possible, and I believe, really, thanks to the councils getting involved, that some people have to pay, and that's what puts them off, and it can be £25 a day.
Wow.
It can be quite expensive, really, for many people. Plus, they've got to buy a meal on top. So that doesn't help. Plus, the referral can take quite a few weeks to organise, but you really need it now. You can't really afford to wait 2 or 3 months while it's all being sorted out.
So what do you think is needed in the community services to support local people? What do you think we need to do, or organisations need to do differently? You're talking about some childhood experiences and some stuff you feel like there's missing. Would you like to talk about that, please?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that last bit.
So previously you've been telling me about there's some things that needs to be posted up for the conditions that you've been suffering from. So
yes,
would you like to talk about that?
Well, like I say, I was diagnosed with what is described as echolalia back in the 60s. I still find nothing available, no kind of information about it anywhere. And when you ask people, have you ever heard of echolalia? They don't really have any knowledge of it at all. These kind of things should be advertised a lot more, maybe even highlighted in a soap opera, so that people will come to understand it a lot more. because it can be quite a lonely feeling when you've got that and nobody really understands what you're suffering from. In the last few years, obviously, but like I say again, by working at Mind, it's given me the confidence to deal with my own issues, and for which I'm thankful for. And I'm there able to help other people with their problems too. But we do need to advertise more mental health, more ADHD or whatever, autism, echolalia. There's not a lot of information out there, and people are still quite not very understanding about it.
So, do you think it's slightly easier than how it used to be growing up?
Oh, certainly these days it is. Yes, back in the 60s, obviously, like I say, with echolalia, if somebody said something to me, I could not absorb immediately what they were saying. I still get this problem even today, even now, actually. And so in those days, if you didn't reply immediately, that you'd get a wallop or you get a duster thrown in your face, a hardboard duster, which is quite shocking. And then my grandmother once said to me, well, if you don't answer, just absorb what's being said, then think about it, then reply. So I tried that one. That didn't work because they thought I was ignoring them. I could not understand what was being said. So these days, yes, there's a lot more support, and people, especially in places like Mind, where they deal with every single mental health subject available, I think.
But you still think there's more needs to be done outside of Mind?
More needs to be done outside of Mind. More needs to be put on the radio, possibly, put on television programs, written about and publicised. You know, I don't see anything wherever I go. I even go into the doctor's surgery. There's nothing there about any of these problems that people suffer from.
Thanks for listening. Stay tuned for more episodes of Spk Our Minds podcast. Welcome to Spk Our Mind community podcast, sharing the views and opinions of local residents in Camden.
So it can be it's quite stressful to think that people are going around, and I can see it. I do know when I see people, when I'm talking to them, I do have a rough idea what they're suffering from, but they don't feel they can talk about it. If you know what I mean, because they don't think many people know about it.
That must be a lonely feeling. That must be very...
It was a very lonely, from personal experience, a very lonely feeling for me, yes, especially back in the 60s. And I do know that there were other people, after I've spoken to them since on Facebook or whatever, that were suffering from the same things. And it just really marred their lives quite a lot. They weren't able to function right for the rest of the... the ones that are still alive, they weren't able to live what could be considered a normal life. And that's quite sad, isn't it?
It's very sad. It's very sad. What type of services would you like to see? And I know you said about posters or radio shows or TV, soap operas, but is it locally? Is there anything can be done?
I think we need another a centre, a bit like... an evening centre where people can just drop in. They don't have to be fully logged up with the council, so they can go in free of charge. It doesn't have to be anywhere special. It can be an empty shop or whatever, a pop-up shop, where they can go in and get access to services like ours, which would make it maybe hopefully a lot quicker. For the homeless and people like that do need to, some are clearly suffering from quite a few issues, and they just don't find it easy to get access to these services. So let them come in, give them a cup of tea, have a chat with them, just generally. If they want to go further than that, then we can refer them, or somebody that's working there could refer them to somewhere like Mind. But we do need more support out there for people. There's more mental health now, I see, than ever before.
Yes.
And that must be even lonelier for people that are sleeping rough, extremely lonely. So they're going through that all alone.
All alone, exactly. Would you like to talk about anything, any experience from your childhood, or anything that's being done, anything else that's giving, you think that needs to be talked about?
No, not really. I don't think. No, I don't think so. Can I ask? This is being edited. Yeah, okay.
Don't worry. We'll do it.
Okay. I'm stuck. I don't want to mar it for you, that's why I don't want to.
So is there anything from here I could...
Oh, not really. I think. Oh, that. Damn it. Yes.
No, I
that
can
one.
talk about that.
Is that all right?
Yeah,
Yeah?
definitely.
Right. Did we start that off? Can you push me in or?
Yeah. So was it universal?
Universal. Oh, right. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I can just add on to what you that last question you asked me, if you want. Okay.
So
Okay.
is there anything else can be done differently to help people with suffering with mental health issues or other issues that you think can be done?
Well, other issues, yes. At the moment, I receive something known as universal credit to top up the wages that mine supply, that mine give me. So, one thing that does upset me is that on universal credit, every pound that I earn, 63p is taken away.
Really?
Yes, 63p is wiped off. So really, it's like we're working for pittance.
Wow.
So I won't say how much I earn, but
No,
obviously
of course.
it's 2/3 of it. And as from next year, it's been reduced a little bit to 55p, I believe. But the more every pound that I earn, every hour extra that I work, is more council tax involved. My tax keeps going up to every pound that I earn. So it doesn't matter how much I earn, I'm just being swallowed with these bills.
Wow.
So I'm earning about what must literally be £3 an hour. Who works for this these days? You know, and I don't get no holiday pay, I don't get no sickness cover, I don't get nothing at all. So really and truly, if something must be done about this, because I can't believe the government think they can get away with paying somebody what amounts to less than £3 an hour after you've taken all the other bits
So
and
you
pieces
work
out.
hard, but then your money gets taken away.
Yes, you
It
get,
just makes no sense.
2/3 of it, more than 3/4 of it, by the council tax is introduced. So it just doesn't seem fair, because I lose that from the allowance that I would normally get from job seekers allowance, from universal credit. So where's the fairness in that? Does that really encourage anybody to want to work? You know, I love doing the job. I really wouldn't want to give it up. But sometimes I don't feel like doing all the hours for the little amount that I know I'm going to get back for it. It just seems to be very unfair, because working at mine is not like, without being rude to anybody, it's not like serving somebody from a till, serving somebody sweets or whatever and taking the money and putting it in a till. That's basically all you do. This is more intense, and you're dealing with people on a one-to-one basis with very personal problems, and you're actually going around visiting them and taking them out and trying to help them as much as you can. And it's just much more of a drain. You actually take this kind of work home with you, and you're thinking about that person for quite a lot of the time. Is that really worth just £3 an hour? You know, I'm not doing it for the money, but I do need the money to live, or else the government won't pay me, and then I'm homeless. So that's my gripe, and I think it's a fairly good one. I just don't think I should be paying all this tax. It doesn't seem fair.
No, it doesn't seem fair.
Like I say, I'm just surprised that people they can get away with paying me that kind of money. Mine pay me a good wage, but with the £3 an hour, you know, I'm not doing it for the money, but I do need the money to live, or else the government won't pay me, and then I'm homeless. So that's my gripe, and I think it's a fairly good one. I just don't think I should be paying all this tax. It doesn't seem
I'm
fair.
sorry to hear that.
Like I say, I'm just surprised that
Thank
people
you very much for
they can
joining.
get away with paying me that kind of money. Mine pay me a good wage, but with the amount that's being taken out, it's just not worth it. Nobody works for this money no more. Even people, 16-year-olds, get more than me when you work that out. You know, and I've got bills to pay, computers, etc., which is, you know, just draining me. Thank you very much.
Thanks for listening. Stay tuned for more episodes of Speak Our Minds podcast.